We'll be stepping into March, of course. I don't know what it is that you have planned or mapped out for yourself for the month of February, but it is still achievable. Don't give up on yourself, and don't give up on this great country of ours. And speaking of this great country of ours, yes, there's a lot that is happening. There's a lot of difficulties and all. But if we can just keep the hope alive, if we can stay resilient, I'm sure somewhere, somehow, even if it's just, I don't know, if it's a ray of light, I don't know. I just really hope that there's light somewhere, at the end of this very, very dark tunnel. All right, let's see what we have as major stories that trended over the weekend. It is our tradition to every Monday bring you up to speed as regards the major stories from over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, as we don't have trends in the papers at that time. All right, the major stories trending over the weekend start from Saturday. Cost of living protests supposed to happen 27th and 28th, as tomorrow and next tomorrow. As it is now, TUC has pulled out. That's the Trade Union Congress. And they have faulted NLC, saying that the protest may bring anarchy. And they explain why they won't be joining the rally against the hardship, saying that the country was too volatile and tense because of the prevailing hunger in the land. So TUC pulled out, and they have cautioned NLC on whether or not to go ahead with the protest. Also, on the front page of dailies on Saturday, we had here Sunday Adeyemo, popularly known as Sunday Igboho, a Yoruba Nation activist, has said Buhari, not Tinubu, responsible for rot in Nigeria. And that's coming from Sunday Igboho. We also have here hunger thrives in states amid 6.58 trillion naira FAC allocation in 2023. Also, we have here Arewa Group's 6 reversal of subsidy removal policy. I don't know about that, but I mean, that's what we have. All right, also on the moving on now to Sunday, food crisis doubts as Tinubu moves to ramp up supply nationwide. We also have here a major story that trended over the weekend. ECOWAS leaves economic sanctions on Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. Well, I need to look deep into, the economic implications of the lifting of the sanctions. Also, we have here Ondo governorship poll. Lucky Aiyedatiwa declares intention to run. Says purported crisis with late Governor Akeredolu was fabricated. All right, still on as regards trending stories from over the weekend. State of the nation. Tinubu must restructure now or Nigeria goes under. That's coming from Mr. Okwadokun, Nadeco leader. There's a lot of details as regards that. Unfortunately, I won't be able to take that. But we also have here Edo primaries fallout. Idahosa kicks as Okwebolo gets certificate of return. PDP can't win without me. And that's coming from Philip Shaibu. There's a lot that is happening in Edo State. If you joined Political Roundtable yesterday, we were able to dig a little bit, scratch around the surface as regards the fact that the top 3 parties in Edo State all have parallel results. That's almost 2 candidates per party. I really don't know what to make of that. But then finally, as regards trending story from over the weekend, traders in massive food diversion to Niger Republic, Cameroon and others as weak naira against SEFA, harassment, insecurity, bad roads are the reasons for this. That's the reasons that were listed. Weak naira against the SEFA, harassment, insecurity, bad roads. Also here, customs intercept illegal food exports in Katsina, Kano, Sokoto, intensify crackdown on smugglers. There's a lot that, but those are the major stories that trended from over the weekend. My name is Omobola Sandra. Let's move on now to the stories trending for today. Of course, I will not be doing this alone. Fuad Sahid is our in-house analyst. He'll be giving analysis to the stories that we're going to be treating this morning. Time check right now is 7:45 a.m. We have our papers here, The Punch, The Guardian, and New Telegraph, in no particular order. And as we begin, good morning, Fuad.
Yeah, good morning, Sandra. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you very much. Wonderful show yesterday.
Well, yeah, wonderful conversation. Very interesting. I've had to listen to it all over again, and a lot of talking points, a lot of takeaways from me. Again, some of these things require deep thinking, and I think vintage Shea Gumi was all over yesterday. even into what I think could be useful to solving the problem of insecurity in the country. It was an interesting interview for me, and a lot of takeaways from me too.
What's your major takeaway for it?
Well, I think the last part of the interview where he talked about solutions to our economy. Somehow we dovetailed into talking about the economy, and at a particular point where he talked about Nigeria looking to the east, looking more at the Chinese model, looking at the Asian tigers, and doing away with the capitalist, the extremely capitalist orientation of the West. Even though he said he wasn't a socialist, but he believes that there are things we could take from the Chinese model, the Eastern model, the Asian tigers like Malaysia, Indonesia, Taiwan, and the rest. So it's something that I think we need to continue to talk about. It's something that I think we need to put on the table and dissect properly. Now that even the president is putting an economic forum together, the president had invited,
some
I think
major
it's a
stakeholders. Yeah, the Economic Advisory Committee.
Where he had brought in the likes of Dangote, Limelu, some governors, and I think that, look, I just hope that the president would also think a bit with what he believes as the best solution to the problem of the economy. I just think that we cannot continue to run with an extreme capitalist orientation. But again, that was the major takeaway from me, apart from the issue of Sheikh Gumi talking about the fact that, look, 80% of Nigeria's landmass is unoccupied. And that in itself, government spaces, and that in itself is the reason why it's extremely difficult to fight these criminals. So fantastic interview. Like I said, I've had to listen over and over again, and I think it's there on our Facebook page for people who missed the show yesterday to go listen to what Sheikh Gumi has to say.
Thank you very much, Said Fuad. Well, let's move on now. Just as Fuad also highlighted, it's still there will always be there anyways on both our Facebook and YouTube platforms. Exclusive interview with Sheikh Gumi, who has been quite a controversial figure as regards security in the country. So you can get all of the details from the video. I will also be posting some shots anytime soon. Let's move on now to the stories trending for today. I'll start with the Punch newspaper. The major headline on the front page of the Punch: NLC protest. Presidency, police issue fresh warnings as 65 groups pull out. And we have riders here. Don't disrupt commercial activities, vehicular movements. Lagos Commissioner of Police tells protesters. Protest illegal, says presidency. CSOs, NLC alleges government plot to disrupt demonstration. So this was actually part of the stories that trended from over the weekend, where NLC, made an allegation that there are some people that want to, take over the protest and turn it into something else. And then the presidency also has responded and said, normally you're not even supposed to go on your protest as it is against the subsisting order in court. Well, let's look at the story from this report. The presidency again on Sunday warned the Nigeria Labour Congress not to embark on its two-day nationwide protest against the rising cost of living in the country. Also, the police have warned against disruption of commercial activities during the protest. So, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategies, and the police have handed down warnings as about 65 civil society groups pulled out of the planned demonstration, warning against its possible hijack, arguing that it could worsen the deteriorating situation. Let's quickly look at it holistically. There's so many things to look at from this report. First off is the fact that, aside from the fact that TUC, it's supposed to be, a labor union, TUC, NLC, but TUC pulled out, saying that, the country at this time is volatile and tense, so they're not going to risk it. They won't be joining the protest. So TUC pulled out. We also have about 65 civil society groups have now pulled out of this protest. What do you think of NLC going forward, or just putting a pause on the protest? One. Two is as regards, the fact that or these allegations that NLC is pushing forward, saying that the fact that some or let me just quote Joe Ajaero, one of the emergency group put together, funded, promoted, and remote controlled by the government is to cause violence against our members for electing to peacefully protest against the hunger in the land. That's an allegation from NLC to the government. That's one as well. The federal government also, said that they are doing everything possible to ease the economic crunch, arrest the free fall of the naira. And so going into this protest, we don't really know why, since the government, has already started work on some of the things that have been highlighted by Labour. So there's just a lot to take away from this, Fuad. So over to you.
All right, see, Sandra, let's start by asking ourselves, and I'm going to ask you specifically, Sandra, how do you feel when a group of people in the past protested severally against government policies when they were not in government, suddenly now sees protests as something that is bad and should not be encouraged? These were people, before they got into power, protested several occasions of protest, encouraging even protests, peaceful protests by Nigerians against government policies. And now, protest is now something bad. Oh, it's something that should be adjusted, and then people are being warned not to protest. Anyways, protest is part of the fundamental human rights as enshrined in the Constitution of the Nigerian people. They have a right to protest. And I think that instead of issuing these warnings and then beginning to demonize the idea of protest, what the government should do is to encourage our security operatives to work with organized labor to ensure that those that they are saying they've identified as wanting to cause trouble does not hijack the protest. Oh, this argument that things are very volatile, blah, blah, blah. Yes, we understand that things are tense now and it could spiral out of control. But you know what, Sandra? And I think what should bother our politicians at this time should not be planned protests. They should be bothered about the protests that will come unplanned.
The surprise attack, eh?
You don't understand. It is even better that this one is planned and there's a
so you
notice
know what to do, yes.
And then you can work with them to, okay, how are you going to take the protest? Where are you starting from? Where are you moving to? Okay, how do we provide enough security? Because again, in every civil society, Sandra, people protest on a daily basis. Recently, even in the UK, we've seen protests. In France, we've seen protests. We've seen truck agri farmers in one of the countries in Europe blocking roads. Protests in every civilized society. You see people protest. What you just ensure is to ensure that it is not hijacked and it becomes chaotic. And that's why, if it's planned, Sandra, the security operatives can work with organized labor. You understand what I'm saying? To ensure it is peaceful. But like I've said, Sandra, and I'm saying this with all sense of responsibility, and I hope our leaders are going to sit back and put on their thinking cap. And not go with all of these, sloganizing and all of these psycho fans, all these political jobbers around it that are just shouting up and down. I think they should not be so worried about a planned protest by organized labor or any other body like that. I think they should be more concerned about the protests that can come unplanned. You understand what I'm saying?
And what about this?
Learn from history. They should learn from history. But like somebody said to me over the weekend, history has taught us that people don't learn from history.
Yeah.
People don't learn from history.
History has taught us that people don't learn from history. But Fuad, before we move on from this story, I also want us to quickly look at this, and I hope that Barrister Biodun Bakare will also call in by Milan FᴜGᴜᴜ. So this issue of getting a court order to stop a protest, that in itself, I don't know, what do you think of that in itself as a breach of fundamental human rights?
I will say the same thing, Sandra. Let us even live with fundamental human rights. Yeah. You can get a court order to stop a planned protest because it is planned and you are aware and you have been told that there will be protest. Can you get a court order to stop an unplanned protest? You don't understand.
Okay.
Because again, we'll go into the issue of legality or no legality and all of that, whether some of these court orders are in variance with the dictates of the Constitution. People have always questioned some of these court orders. Whether indeed they engender and enshrine the spirit of the rule of law as enshrined in our constitution when it comes to the rights of the people. But I really don't even want to bother myself with all of the legal jumble, the back and forth that will come from this kind of conversation. My worry is that, look, can you get a court order to stop something that can happen without any plan? And history has also taught us, Sandra, that those unplanned protests, it becomes more troubling than the ones that are planned. So when it is planned, you can work with the protesters, give them some form of cover, work with the security operatives and ensure it doesn't spiral out of control. Look, I told, was it Sage or you I told last week, that a lot of people don't remember how the NSAS protest started.
Oh, that was me, yeah.
If you ask a lot of Nigerians, they will think that NSAS started at Lekki Toll. It didn't start at Lekki Toll.
No.
And it was not planned. Was it planned? Then it started gathering momentum.
There was no announcements. Just some people
it
snowballed. No. Yes.
It was snowballed because it was not planned. And that's why, all of these things we won, the police issuing threats, nobody is encouraging chaos and anarchy. We need the peace in the land. But if it is enshrined in our constitution that people can actually protest peacefully against what they consider bad policies of government, then they should. For people who are pulling out, it is also within their right to pull out. If they think the protest will not give them any result, it's within their right. They have a right to pull out of the protest. Nobody can force anybody to protest if they don't want to protest. The same way we should not stop people from protesting if they want to protest. To fight is within the ambit of the law. But I'm saying that, look, the government should be more, even though if they are taught us that people don't learn from it. We just hope they will learn. I'm just hoping that the government will learn. And quickly, without movement, just continue to do as if you are doing something without really doing anything. Oh, just get the people excited. Headliners, what you call the headliners. We are doing this, we are doing that, we are bringing grain, we are bringing diarrhea, all of those kinds of things. Address the real issues. Sit down as a government to bring workable and sustainable solutions to the problem of the people. People are not animals who just want to protest and cause chaos and anarchy. No. Nigerians are peace-loving. If our people will tell you that Nigerians are the least demanding of people in the world, they don't even demand for anything. Just give them any little thing, they are happy. We are the happy-go people of the world. All we just need is just basic things and everybody is happy. They go. Look, Nigerians don't even want the government to fix them. Just give them the enabling environment and Nigerians will try.
Well, stories on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Presidency police issue fresh warnings as 65 groups pull out of NLC protest. Don't disrupt commercial activities. Vehicular movement. Lagos Commissioner of Police tells protesters. Commissioners of police in other states as well, Delta, Ekiti, have said, well, there's nothing you can do. All they will do is deploy officers to ensure there's no breakdown of law and order
good.
In their protest. That's what we are getting from, these commissioners. But then the presidency is insisting that the protest is illegal. And it's against, is a court order. But then we'll see how things will turn out. Tomorrow is going to be a beautiful day. All right, that's all we have from page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Moving on, still on the front page of the Punch newspaper, BDC operators plan mergers, fault mandatory deposit. And that is on page 13 of the Punch newspaper. Very quickly, what we have is that the president of the Association of Bureau de Change of Nigeria, Aminu Gwadebe, has said that members of the association would consider mergers if the proposed guidelines for their operation goes into effect. So very quickly, the CBN, in a draft paper titled Revised Regulatory and Supervisory Guidelines for Bureau de Change Operators in Nigeria, was released on Friday, and they proposed an increase in the share capital of BDC operators to 2 billion and 500 million for 2 billion for tier 1, 500 million naira for tier 2 licenses. All right. The current operators were previously charged 35 million naira for a general license. So the Apex ban will also be mandating BDC license holders to make caution deposits of 200 million naira for tier 1 and 50 million naira for tier 2, respectively. So, reacting to that, the BDC operators, through the president, has said definitely that is why we're asking for the general license hold, where during that period of consolidation, no new licenses should be issued. and they should allow the old licenses to come together, form those mega consolidated operations in cash sale and ownership structure. Well, according to APCON and all, the proposed cautionary deposit is not global practice. Neither are BDCs engaging in deposit-taking operations. I really don't know. I mean, they're not commercial banks. But then...
So one is wondering why.
Why exactly? So I don't know why, but I mean, they've taken it in good faith. They said they should just give them time. This whether they'll come together, whether there'll be mergers so they can put themselves together for the new policies that have been pushed out.
You know what, Sandra? I don't know whether the papers, I think maybe the Vanguard has a report where Mr. Peter Obi is questioning the idea of the government clamping down on BDCs, arresting and going after them, and saying that basically what we're doing is just scratching the surface. We are not really addressing the real problem. Every reform that is needed to have a structured BDC operations in Nigeria is a welcome development, Sandra. Whatever it will take for us to have a well-structured BDC arrangement, operations in the country, welcome development. But again, like they said, they are not commercial banks, so they are wondering why the need for them to begin to make some form of deposit for them to operate. But again, I think they are forward-thinking in their operations. They're already talking about a possible merger, just as we had when we recapitalized some of our banks. You understand, Sandra? But let us be very realistic with ourselves. The problem we have in the forex market, Sandra, is a problem of demand and supply. A problem of demand that is coming as a result of negative speculation and very devilish speculation from some quarters. And a problem of supply because we are not seeing enough forex as a country, Sandra. Those two issues are the issues I think the government should begin to focus on seriously. You understand what I'm saying? Yes, BDC operators, black market speculators, and all. I think that more of what the government should now also start to do is to look at the supply, earnings of forex. What are the things that we can quickly do to ensure more earnings of forex into our economy? You understand what I'm saying? But like I said, whatever the government thinks is the right thing to do to have a more structured BDC operations and all of that is a welcome development. But as they are also doing that, Sandra, they need to also look at our deposit money banks, who are also being fingered as being one of the problems as far as this forex crisis is concerned, if you understand what I'm saying. The bank, why is it that, look, you can't get anything forex from our bank? Why do we have that situation? But you go from the same bank outside the bank, there's an Aboki man standing that will give you the same dollars. Why do we always
have to go to the black market?
Why? Why is it that official market you can't get anything from it?
And that's why people are not very concerned with how much dollar is on the official window, because it's like there's no point.
You don't get anything there.
Exactly. Everybody's focused on the
black market.
The black market.
So why is it that, look, the official market, which is supposed to be the market we're supposed to work with, is always empty? There's nothing to get there. Or the black market is always active. Whereas in reality, it is still the official market that is funding the black market. So that illegality, the CBN should work to fix that problem. Why should the official market be funding the black market? That is the big speculation we are talking about. And they should try to fix all of that.
Thank you very much, Faifuad. Well, BDC operators planning mergers, faulty mandatory deposit. The story is on page 13 of the Punch newspaper. We also have here, just above the masthead of the Punch, forex crisis threatens modular refineries, 25 billion naira daily crude inputs. So there we go. And that story is on page 21. So what we have is that modular refineries in Nigeria are currently facing the threat of shutting down operations following their inability to access foreign exchange for the purchase of crude oil, which is a commodity that is priced in dollars. So, and as it is now, Nigeria currently has 25 licensed modular refineries with a combined capacity of producing 200,000 barrels of crude oil daily. So, although not all of them are currently operational, but it's been gathered that the functional ones are increasingly finding it difficult to purchase crude due to the worsening foreign exchange crisis in the country. There's a lot of rògbòdìyàn that the modular refineries are going through this time. That I really don't know if there's anything, if there's even attention that's been paid to these modular refineries, or they've just been left to themselves. When we should, take advantage of whatever it is that is going on, and also look at, the modular refinery area.
You know what, Sandra? It's just like, you want to set up a bakery to produce bread, but you didn't think about how to get flour. You didn't think about how to get butter and all of the other things that we needed to produce the bread. A lot of these guys who got the modular refinery licenses, for those of them that have been able to even put up the structure, consistently now for how many years now they've been talking about the fact that, look, until there's a deliberate government policy to ensure that, one, they get crude supply locally at Naira equivalent, it may be extremely difficult for them to operate. There was even a time they said, look, a lot of banks were reluctant to fund their operations.
Yes.
Because they were guaranteed. You understand? Again, banks are going to be very circumspect. They're going to be very detailed about funding such a business when they are not sure the operational model in itself would work, if you understand what I'm saying. So, again, these are things that we also think the government should quickly sit down to fix. For example, all of these forests, yes, I'm with you, Sandra.
Why are modular refinery operators, why are they purchasing crude in dollars?
Because we can't supply them here. We don't have enough to supply them. Look at Dangote refinery, Sandra. We don't have enough. We're not producing enough. Just over the weekend, Sandra, ᴜᴜᴜ Obasanjo said that 80% of our crude production is stolen. Said 80%, that's the figure again.
80.
Now, 80, yes, he said what we produce, 80% of it is stolen. So, in all of that, look at what happened to Dangote refinery and what is still happening. Sandra, we struggled, real struggle, to supply Dangote refinery with 6 million barrels of crude oil. Look, that's a refinery that's supposed to get 650,000 barrels per day. That thing we struggled to give him for like 7 months is something that he should get in 10 days. That crude supply, Sandra. And up to today now, we have not heard anything at Tigbon after struggling. Because if you say a refinery has a capacity of 650,000 barrels per day, if you times that by 10, that's about 6.5 million barrels per day, right?
Yes.
And look at the number of days, weeks, months it took us to be able to deliver those crude to him in transit. Is that what we're going to operate on? That is why even the refinery is already in talks with people in other parts of the country for crude importation. You understand? Because he knows, I'm sure they know, that they can't rely on local supply. We can't do it. Our OPEC quota we are not able to meet up with. Production of crude, a lot of the wells are not even active. A lot of the oil wells are so moribund. They are so inactive. Coupled with that is the oil theft we are battling with. Coupled with that is the militancy that we still have in some parts of the Niger Delta. Sandra. So it's a web of complete confusion, really. And look, now that the modular refinery owners are complaining that they can't even operate, they can't run. That is why we are also having Dangote refinery that is also looking for supply everywhere in the world. The same government is talking about fixing our 4 refineries that would also produce about 445,000 barrels of. If you aggregate all of those, they said the combined production of the modular refinery is 200,000 per day, Abi. Dangote is 650,000 per day.
Yes.
And then the 4 refineries are supposed to do 445,000 barrels per day. So we are talking about 1.5 million barrels of crude oil per day. Where are we going to get it from? When we are struggling to meet 1.3 million barrels of OPEC quota, where 80%, according to ᴜᴜᴜ Obasanjo, of our crude supply is being stolen, and a lot of our oil wells are moribund. So that's what we're saying, that look, these things require thinking. Good thinking requires intentional actions, requires being dedicated to it, requires serious hard work. One of the problems, Sandra, why we are in this forest crisis is that, look, the little forest we earn from sale of crude, we still deploy the same money into bringing imported PMS into the country, imported diesel, imported kerosene into the country. But just imagine that we can refine locally, Sandra. Imagine that we can work very hard, to show up crude oil supply, to be able to supply enough to our modular refinery, to be able to supply enough to Dangote refinery, to be able to supply enough to our 4 refineries if they get functional, and ensure we domesticate the pricing because we own the crude. And that was even the intention of building the local refineries in the first place. And then we begin to also look at making enough money by meeting up our quota and bringing in forex. And then we refine locally. We are not even spending forex in bringing in PMS, diesel, jet, one and all. Look, we can solve our economic crisis even by starting with that. Before we now begin to talk about diversifying the economy into our grid, looking at solid mineral resources. Sandra, Nigeria is a blessed nation. We should not be in this mess. What we have, or what the problem is that we don't have good leaders. We don't have thinking leaders. And then there's too much corruption in the system. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Said Fuad. That story is on page 21. The fact that forex crisis is threatening modular refineries and their 25 billion daily input. Well, as now they are struggling to, have access to crude because they do not have or there's scarcity of dollars and they need dollars.
Sandra, those guys that also got licenses to import PMS. It's the same problem. There's no forex to bring in the PMS.
So that's why I've not been hearing from them. Right.
It's only NFTC that can bring anything in now. So they are just there.
Okay.
With their license. Maybe the license will not gather dogs.
Yeah.
Beggar.
Okay. Finally, from the Punch newspaper, food smuggling customs to man 1,500 illegal routes with drones. And that is on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. It's 13 minutes gone past 8. We're looking through major stories trending on the front page of our dailies. And just very quickly, before we move on to the Guardian newspaper, this story here on page 7, where there seems to be something we're taking away from this one. Yes, in a move to tighten the noose on food smugglers, the NCS, that's Nigeria Customs Service, has deployed drones and more operatives to restrict the diversion of foodstuff to neighboring countries throughout about 1,500 identified illegal border crossings. And they said they have increased their presence across the borders, and this is in compliance with the presidential directive to security agencies to stop smuggling of food out of the country as part of decisive measures to stem the food crisis in the country. Fuad, our people still believe that, the reason why there's food crisis in the country, quote unquote, is because we are carrying food out of the country. I don't know. Maybe we just started taking food out of the country in 2024. I don't know.
So it's a new thing.
We've never taken food out of the country.
And that's why we have this crisis.
And that's why we're having this crisis. What do you think?
When we continue to live in defeat and continue to people will wake up. Joseph Olonshaw will always say something that it is very difficult to wake somebody that's pretending to sleep. You will beat and tired, you go stand up unless you do something very bad to the person. I think the government should wake up from these their pretense. Yes, look, people have always smuggled things in and out of the country. It has always been there. When they say that during the Buhari era, Jonathan era, in the past, there was no
what they are pinning this on is the fact that, with the recent, more recent free fall of the Naira, the fact that the Naira just keeps depleting and all.
Can they address that one?
That is why people would prefer to sell for people outside the country.
They should work to ensure that our Naira is not on a free fall now, so that people will not be encouraged to take out the food. Okay. They themselves know that the problem, why smuggling is now being encouraged, is because of the free fall of the Naira to other currencies of the world, and even our neighboring countries. So why can't they address that one? To ensure that our currency returns to a period where it is far, far stronger than those other currencies, and then smuggling will not be encouraged. You don't understand. And then the information from customs that they will use drones for illegal routes. What are we supposed to do with that? So we should carry drum and be dancing. Now, customs, they want to now start to use drones to monitor illegal routes where food are being taken out of the country. They should do their job.
They're telling us
what are we supposed to do with that information, Sandra?
So we know that they are working.
They are working.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we now know they are working, what then do we do with that?
You can be rest assured.
Okay, then food will now automatically come to our table at cheap price.
Yeah.
Okay, I hear you. Well done, no customs, for using drones to monitor illegal routes.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes. Thank you very much,
let's move on. Yeah. All right.
Thank you to customs. But then at the same time, just as far as I don't know. But speaking of free fall of the naira, let's look at what we have on the major headline on the front page of the Guardian newspaper: Forex crisis. Nigeria falling out of top 4 African economies on weak currency. So I don't know.
South Africa pushing us back. Yeah.
So the story is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper, and let's see what we have here. If the giant is still the giant. Algeria to push Nigeria to 5th position on nominal output. GDP returns to 2000 level, closer to $1 trillion mark about 15 years ago than now. Country faces potential reclassification as low-income economy. CBN at crossroads over inflation, forex speculation, interest rate adjustment, as Cardoso holds his first MPC meeting. So, as it is now, Nigeria would need to achieve accelerated growth and a firmer currency to regain and maintain spot among the top 3 biggest economies in Africa. Already, we may have lost our top 2 spots to key rivals Egypt and South Africa, as per output data released by the National Bureau of Statistics last week, and data by IMF had picked Egypt to lead the African economy last year. They had a GDP or a nominal GDP of about 398 billion, and Egypt is awaiting the full GDP figure for the 2023-2024 year. Unlike Naira, which has fallen by approximately 72% of its value in the past year and close to 50% year to date alone. As it is now, the Egyptian pound has traded between 30 and 31 against the greenback, that's the dollar, in the last year. So like Nigeria, Egypt faces economic turmoil manifesting in widespread between a parallel and official foreign exchange market, tumbling reserves and sluggish growth. And as a response to the forex crisis, the government asks undocumented immigrants to pay $1,000 fine in dollars to regularize their residency status or face jail term next month. That's one way. What do you think of that measure taken by Egypt in a bit?
It's just a desperate measure, and because again, how do you just want to collect money from people anyhow and everywhere? but everyone trying to do something to stabilize its own currency, get things right, have a more stable economy and all of that. And if you look at that report, basically that part of the largest and the biggest economy in Africa, we're about to lose our crown, Sandra.
We're about
to lose our crown, yes. At least we want to look at the latest figures, because again, we need to look at the 2023-2024 index for us to be very, very sure that we've lost that crown. That's what I'm saying.
That's as against Egypt, because Nigeria has released its own full year productivity already. As it is, and Nigeria recorded an absolute output value of 234 trillion in the year, which is about 16% higher than what was posted in 2022. Although the improvement may have been wiped out by elevated inflation, naira depreciation, and all of that, but then it's a serious struggle. We're just awaiting Egypt's, their own statistics is not yet out. That's just what.
If you look at the current ratings now, Sandra, Egypt, South Africa, Nigeria, we are all hovering at around $4 billion economy.
Okay.
It's just marginal. The differences are a bit marginal amongst the 3 countries. So, although you have other countries like Morocco, Algeria also making an enroute into the top 5. Ethiopia is also doing very well, surprisingly, Sandra. That's a country where a part of its region is in crisis. So, but in all of this, Sandra, Nigeria should be way, way ahead of this country. If you're going to be looking at our potential, you also look at our population, because all of these countries' population are like half the size of the country of Nigeria. You understand what I'm saying? And in terms of resources, they are not even near us. In terms of resources, in terms of human capacity, you understand what I'm saying? We are not supposed to be rubbing shoulders with them. Something happened over the weekend, Sandra, and there was this back and forth between the presidency about a leaked memo where the Qatari government refused a request by the Nigerian government for a business summit between Nigeria and Qatar, even though the president will be visiting Qatar. And people kept talking, do you have Bayo Nonuga also say? And I said, look, it is still finished, whether they like it or not.
No, it is.
Sandra, it is still finished. Look, there are some requests as it is in the world that the Qatari government will never turn down, even if it comes 5 minutes to when they are doing something important. You don't understand? Look, if you position yourself well, Sandra, and we keep saying it, this idea of running everywhere in the world looking for foreign direct investment, look, just sit back. Sit back. They will come to you. They will be the ones requesting. And you know the unfortunate thing, the shameful thing about all of these conversations, whether it matters or not. These were countries in the 70s that could not even look at Nigeria in the eye when we talk about economy. What was the UAE in the 70s? What was Qatar? Those were countries that were regarded as purely desert, of no reckoning. I'm sorry, without any disrespect to those beautiful countries whose leaders have been able to do a fantastic job for their people. We are now here now saying Qatar. You know the same thing we did in UAE too, where we are now even begging them to lift sanctions and allow our people to start coming here. You know, it is unfortunate that in my lifetime, Sandra, just in my mid-40s, I've realized that Nigeria has now become a beggarly nation where we are now kneeling before even the minnows of the world for economic partnership. It's unfortunate.
Well, it is unfortunate. Just as you have rightly highlighted. It's very
the giant of Africa, Sandra, with all of its potential.
I said I don't know if the giant is still giant, but I mean, population-wise, Egypt doesn't have up to half of our population, and Egypt is thriving as regards their nominal GDP, as well as
South Africa.
No, South Africa, Algeria, Ethiopia, Morocco.
That would be well.
And some of these countries, they have some internal issues as well, but they are still able to climb above it all. All right, well,
I'm sorry, Sandra. Okay. When we're even talking about this country, we need to look at them, in relation to our own resources, what we have as resources. These countries don't have what we have, Sandra. They don't have the population. They don't have the solid minerals we have. They don't have the same resources. Some of them don't even have crude oil that we have. But look at how they've been able to, stabilize and manage and continue to push us to the extent now that they are pushing us behind. We are losing that crown.
All right. Stories on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. As it is, Nigeria seems to be falling out of top 4 African economies on weak currency. Moving on now very quickly. We don't have so much time. We also have here emerging prospects and challenges of state police amid legislative traction, and that is on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. So very quickly, after years of hesitation and despite existential national security crisis, the prospect of state police is looking up and gaining the right attention at the National Assembly. But then the concerns of its naysayers are just as valid as the prospective benefits of a decentralized police system. I think we've always highlighted the fact that there are a lot of pros and cons when it comes to this state police conversation. But what would you say as regards which one do you think has more weight, the pros or the cons? Because I know you are a huge supporter of state police.
I'm a supporter, but again, I'm cautiously supporting it because of our own local peculiarities. Yeah, look, yesterday Shegumi said the same, that he supports it 100%. But we also have to be cautious about it. I think there's a report in the papers yesterday. I'll try to dig it up and maybe during the week we'll talk about it. Because again, everybody's concerned now that there's a legislative traction for state police, everybody's talking about it. It now has almost all the support of everyone. The governors are happy about state police because I'm sure it's not security that is in their mind, but the political implications for them. They want that power to themselves. I'm sorry.
Sunday Vanguard. Tinubu must restructure now, or Nigeria goes under Okwadoku Nadeko leader.
That's a fantastic report, Sandra. Maybe some other time we'll delve into that particular report. Maybe midweek politics or so. And in that report, Okwadoku gave suggestions on how to have a state policing structure that would not be abused by the governors, the political class. He talked about the fact that there should be a council of the MBA, organized labor, civil society organizations being in charge of running the police, not the politicians. In terms of financing too, we have to decide how we want to finance. You understand? Because, Sandra, I'm sorry, let's just say it the way it is. If we create a state policing system and we hand it over completely to our governors with what we know, their behavior, their attitude, just take an example of what our governors have turned state independent electoral commissions to. That is the kind of police you have.
Oh, well, I have here a public affairs commentator, Mr. Professor Olabode Lucas, disagreeing with the idea of a state police, and his fear is based on political history and present level of political temperament, especially going as far back as the First Republic, where there was state police in the northern and western regions of the country. He said, and I quote, "How are we sure that we're not going to have a repeat of what happened during the First Republic? It may even be worse because in the present dispensation, state governors have turned themselves into local dictators. They muzzle local government councils' pockets, control the state assemblies. It's even such that local government elections are won 100% by the ruling party in the state."
That's what I just said. All these state independent electoral commissions, see the way the governors have turned them to nonsense, nothing, no value.
Yes. So, Fuad, some people are of the idea that maybe we should look at the workability in Nigeria. What's the mode of operation? How are we going to operate our own? That should be the focus now, rather than looking at the cons. Do you agree that? Okay.
You know what, Sandra? You know we are between the devil and the deep blue sea. We have to choose one.
Yes.
The reality is that the current federal centralized policing we are running is still subject to abuse. It's still being abused. And we have known that, look, in terms of capacity, local intelligence, operational model, it is not sustainable. It can't provide us the needed security we want. That's why everybody's talking about state policing. Now, the next conversation we should have is how to ensure that, look, the state policing structure is not misused, abused, and messed up by our governors. That should now be the conversation. We should not rush into it. In the same way we were warning about removal of subsidy, I think we are now warning that, look, yes, state police is an idea that has come at this time. And I think everybody seems to now accept that, look, that is what we should do. But in accepting it, we should be cautious about the fact that, look, the temperament, the behavior of our political class, especially the governors, if we don't do something about not giving it totally to them, to be subject to abuse, and then the essence of creating a police will not be achieved. I agree with what the person has said. So we now have to sit down to ensure that, look, we create a state policing structure that is independent, that can do their job without political interference from our governors. A lot of them have become emperors, local emperors. They pocketed the state independent electoral commissions, they pocketed the chairman, the local government council. Look, our governors have been. We saw one now that local government chairman were frustrated for. Just imagine he has state police.
Well, we have run out of time, unfortunately, so we may not be able to take a whole lot of other stories. But the story, more details of that particular story on page 4, looking at the prospects and challenges of state police amid legislative traction. Also on the front page of Guardian, conditional cash transfer to resume amid probing. That's on page 3. So apparently, we are still moving on with that one as well. We also have
to share money.
It's very important. New Telegraph, very quickly. Tinubu to tripartite panel. We may not have answers now, but we are trying. As he has set up a presidential economic advisory committee, which comprises state governors, Tony Elumelu of UBA, Dangote, and also Mr. Rabiu of BUA.
So the president has agreed that they don't have answers now.
We say we may. Is
we may what?
Conditional. We may.
Say it now. Say it.
We may not have answers now. Yes, we may not.
And so what does that tell you? You have answers or you don't have answers?
That we don't know if we have. What we have.
So what does that tell you? How do you interpret that?
We don't know if it is answers, but we have something.
And so that's how to run an economy. That's how to run people's lives. Well, that's how to run a government.
Dangote is saying that we have what it takes to turn around the economy, according to Dangote.
So you trust a capitalist, a complete capitalist with your economy, with people's lives, a bourgeoisie 100%, who has complete capitalist orientation for profit sharing. That's the economic thing we're going to trust.
Well, said Mr. Abdul Samad of BUA Group is saying forex artificial and manipulative. I don't know, please. That's a very long read. Unfortunately, we don't have so much time. I would have wanted us to delve deeper into that one. But so help us God. Well, finally, Edo 2024 confusion as 3 Guber candidates emerge in Labour Party parallel primaries. That's what
Labour Party get 3. I thought it's 2.
It's 3.
Now we got 3.
It's now 3. Apparently.
In Labour Party.
Yes, in Edo State.
And James Ogbonna was saying they only have 1 candidate.
No.
Don't mind all these
Stay with us. Don't go anywhere. Apologies, we've taken some time off, a commercial time. But stay with us. We'll be back after this break for Mainland Focus, where you get to be a part of the conversation. This is Mainland 98.3 FM. The Morning Express continues.
Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos.
To cook correct food, they always give me joy. That's why anytime I they cook like this, I they always season them with no cubes. Come add correct vegetables inside. Ugu, tatasheo, shombo, onions. No one I know they put. Now it make my pikin them, they always enjoy my cooking.
Daddy, I never will. I want more.
You see? Sama all your food with correct vegetables. Come season them with no cubes.